All right, let me ask you a question. Have you heard of extraction shooters? Well, I certainly hope so, because I've got another one to show you today. This goes by the name of Exoborne. It is being developed by Shark Mob. This is the same studio who made that Vampire Masquerade Battle Royale game that I really enjoyed. And well, I'm happy to see that they've got something new cooking up. Exoborne is an extraction shooter that takes much of the typical genre formula and adds a few new interesting twists. Now, I've actually played this on and off over the past couple months, participating in a few different early closed playtests, and generally I've enjoyed my time with the game, so I was quite happy when the developer reached out asking to sponsor a video, as they are looking to promote the next upcoming closed playtest, which actually starts this week on September 16th. So if you like what you see, if you're interested in this game, you can just sign up to try it for yourself. Don't even have to take my word for it. Literally just play the game yourself. But generally speaking, I like extraction games. If you've watched this channel, you should know that. I've covered quite a few of them, and it seems like this could be a new solid entry into the genre from what I've played thus far. So here today, I'm just going to give you a basic overview of the game, going over its various systems, features, and any mechanics that set this one apart. All right, let's jump right into it. So kicking things off, you have, of course, an intro tutorial. As usual, this introduces you to the basics of the game's movement, combat, as well as a few mechanics. There is also a character creator as well, not super in-depth or anything. You don't really need a super in-depth character creator for an extraction game, but it does give you some options to tailor your appearance however you like. Then after a short romp through the game's menus and UI, you are right off straight into the extraction loop, which looks like this. You start off by selecting your loadout, choosing which of the weapons, equipment, and consumables you want to bring with you. Then you pick your map. Now, there were 3 available options in the last playtest that I played, although they do funnel you into the beginner map to start, which comes with fewer NPC and environmental threats. After that, you load in, getting dropped at a random location somewhere around the outer edges, and then from there you go around doing the loot part of the extraction loot game, collecting resources and loot from various points of interest. You're going to have quest objectives that you collect from NPCs, or just the menu essentially. These are going to ask you to go out and collect certain objects or kill certain targets. You do that, you get some rewards. Points of interest all over the place. These come with different threat levels, which correspond to the enemy AI factions of robots and humans. The more dangerous an area, the more valuable it is. And then of course it's PvP. There are other players in the lobby with you. If you come across them, you are going to fight them. Full loot drops beyond whatever happens to you keep in your safe pocket, and that's the core of the game. Random events help mix things up a bit as well, including environmental threats that you have to worry about. And then once you have filled up your bags with loot, or have decided it's too risky to stay in the lobby any longer, you head to one of several extraction points, call the ship. Once it arrives, you board it and take off to safety. And if you die at any point, you're going to drop everything but what is in your safe pockets, which is a relatively small amount of space. And that's the basic gist of it. Now let's dive into some of the specifics, beginning with classes. So the game has a class-like system via these Exo-rigs. Prior to jumping into your very first match, you're going to pick which of the 3 available ones you want to use, and each of these cater to like a distinct playstyle. So Viper is stealth, fast, and agile. It's got Blade Dash, where you dash forward, striking an enemy with melee. Cloak makes you invisible for a short duration. Any attacks you do will cancel that. And then Air Step lets you jump an additional time midair, so basically it's a double jump. Kestrel is the high mobility frame. You've got Wind Blast, which releases a blast of compressed air, damaging and concussing enemies in a cone in front of you. Hover lets you, hover in the middle of the air. And then you've got Charge Jump, where after a short duration, you're going to be launched high up into the sky, like ridiculously high. It's something like 50 meters, from which you can use the game's gliding system. And then finally, there is Kodiak, who is the tanky bruiser. It's got Ground Slam, where you smash the ground, doing heavy area damage to any nearby enemies. Fortress grants temporary armor, which is like an overshield. And then Kinetic Leap lets you, after sprinting for a short duration and reaching full charge, it will drastically increase the height of your basic jumping ability. Now, I have predominantly been playing as Kodiak. I quite like all of his abilities, the AoE Slam, the Overshield, as well as the Leap. Although he's not like the fastest, he does seem to be one of the most mobile, especially once you build up your energy pool, because your sprinting will consume your energy, but if you have a high amount of energy, you can constantly be sprinting, which the other classes can't do as well. And that leap ability, especially if you combine it with some movement mods in your frame, you can actually kind of be not zipping around, but kind of lumbering forward at a pretty consistent clip, which I found really enjoyable. Plus, I mean, having an overshield in a PvP shooting game, it's a nice little addition as well. All right, so you drop in, as mentioned, there are going to be points of interest in every direction. The maps are a mixture of natural environment landscapes, urban structures and towns, as well as various high-tech facilities. As for the points of interest, every distinct location is going to be full of enemy NPCs. These come in a variety of a mixture of different types of robots, as well as humans, like bandits. They're going to have certain loot, resources, and valuables to collect, which are used for turning in quests, for crafting, and or selling any valuables for currency, which you then use to buy stuff. Now, there are smaller points of interest all over the place, and then larger ones that are spread fairly evenly across the map. Those larger locations are highlighted with bigger icons when you pull up your map, as well as being color-coded based on their current threat level. So the threat levels are white for low threat, orange is medium, and red is high, and this essentially indicates how dangerous the PvE enemies are going to be at that location. And that danger or threat level comes in the form of enemy density, the difficulty of the enemies that are there, as well as the variety of them. The higher the threat level, the more enemies, the bigger variety, and the more dangerous variations of enemies there are going to be. And as you assume, the higher the challenge level at a point of interest, the higher and better the rewards that you can potentially get from there. Now, some other things you're going to come across beyond like moving through these POIs, fighting the PvE enemies, and then of course other players are there. There are these loot caches. These are indicated with this green chest icon and a green ring around it. If you go to that area, somewhere within that circumference, there is going to be a special chest, and it actually has an audio cue. The closer you get, you can hear it like kind of shimmering. Now, once you find the chest, you interact with it, and then this is going to start a timer. You fend off enemies until the timer reaches 0, and then the chest will open up. Lots of really good drops here. In fact, these locations were so valuable, like I so often got high rarity items, that most of the fights that I've had with other players were actually at the green loot caches, because it seemed like players also really wanted to go there, and so we ended up encountering each other often, and if you encounter another player, that means a fight is going to ensue. Also valuable, though, are these artifacts. You'll find these marked on your map as well. These are very high risk and reward events. You go there, and then you have to complete an objective in order to collect the artifacts. Now, the thing is, the PvE threats at these locations are gargantuan. Typically, you're going to have to be fending off many waves of the robot enemies in particular, with lots of the bigger, more dangerous ones mixed in as well. These things firing artillery, having like heavy machine guns, like all sorts of stuff. Really, really tough. Lots of health. Lots of noise is going to be made in the process. So these take a fair bit of time to complete. You're going to be shooting a lot. The enemies are going to be shooting a lot. And all of that noise means you're going to draw the attention of other players. Also on the map are these supply stations. You go there, you can call in for various supplies, getting ammunition, healing items, and armor. There's also vehicle call stations. We never tried these ourselves because the vehicles kind of just seemed like death traps. Maybe that changes as it goes throughout development, but we just didn't really see a need for it, especially with the game's just kind of great baseline mobility. It didn't really need to ride around in a vehicle. Clearance cards. So you're going to go to these node devices, and they're scattered all over the map. You find them at pretty much every point of interest. There'll be at least a few of these. Now you interact with these little white triangles, and then it starts charging up your card, which increases clearance level. This will charge up, and I think it goes to like a cap of 200 or 250 or something per card. And then these are basically keys that you use to open up high value loot chest, as well as certain locked off points of interest, such as there are various underground bunkers spread throughout the map. The ones that I found required a clearance level of 200. If you fill up your card, you go there with over 200 or over clearance, opens up the underground bunker, and as you would assume, lots of good loot to be found here as well. And then it wouldn't be an extraction game without the extraction points. There are several extraction locations spread across every map. At any given time, there's always at least a few of these available, so you're never like stuck unable to extract. It's just a matter of getting to the point. For the most part, extraction involves going to said location, calling in for extraction, then waiting a few seconds for the ship to arrive. Once it arrives, the doors open, you hop in, and then after a few seconds of standing on board, the doors close and the vehicle starts to take off. At that point, you have safely extracted. extracted. Now, there were certain extraction points where actually the ship is already there and landed ahead of time, just waiting for someone to enter, and then a few seconds, doors closes, it takes off. But for the most part, extraction has you waiting like roughly a minute for it to come, open, board, and then extract. And then again, in that process, as the helicopter ship thing is coming in, every other person on your lobby sees it flying by, and if it flies by and starts to land somewhere near where they are, they might try to come and take you out right before you can board and take off. That does certainly happen. It's something that I myself have participated in doing as well. Now, as you may have seen in some of the gameplay here, traversal in this game I think is pretty phenomenal. There's just a lot that you can do, and it feels and it has a nice flow to it. First of all, you can mantle onto pretty much anything your character can reach, they'll grab themselves and pull up onto. You also have a grapple hook with a relatively short cooldown, which you can use to hook onto any object or surface on the map. It's not one of those games that has like set places that you can grapple. You can grapple onto pretty much everything in the environment, and those combined with the fact that you have a glider that you can whip out whenever, as long as you're over like 5 meters in the air, you pull this thing out and it's going to give you some momentum. All of these things combined give you some really nice mobility in this game, even for like the slowest, least mobile class, which is the one that I was playing. Mobility and maneuvering around the map feels quite great, especially when you consider this game's use of weather. So weather plays a pretty big role in this game. You do have different weather events that can take place, like it can be foggy, it can be rainy, there can be thunderstorms, but it's not just like the noise level and the changing to visibility that it does. Many of these events will also come with some level of wind, which plays into the traversal system, because as I mentioned, you have this glider that you can whip out, and with it, the wind can really carry you. In fact, if there's any degree of wind at all, pulling out the glider is going to propel you up further into the air. On top of that, maps have these weather towers that can drastically alter the current weather on the map, like on a dime's notice. And at times, you're going to have things like tornadoes whirling about, and these provide massive boosts to traversal, as you can use them to carry yourself upward hundreds of meters into the sky and then just kind of launch in whatever direction the wind is blowing. And yes, the game even does make use of, if you're going against the direction of the wind, you're going to be slower. You can still propel and get yourself some height, but you're not going to move very quickly. But when you're moving with the direction of the wind, you just absolutely sail. So this whole weather system and the wind mechanic, coupled with the glider and the rest of the traversal with the grapple hook and the ability to mantle, and then your class's abilities, just make mobility in this game really good. So there were 3 maps the last time that I played. Maynard is the starting map. Most of the gameplay you will have seen here in this video does take place on this particular map. It was the largest of the 3 locations. Lots of big open spaces, lots of different points of interest, lots of natural environment. And then from there, the remaining maps got kind of progressively smaller and more intense, with really ramped up weather events, larger groups of PvE enemies, and more frequent elites and bosses. Also, quite a bit more frequent PvP encounters. Agnieville was a smaller map with a big town in the middle, lots of quick action here, and then a bunch of those ready to go extraction points that didn't require calling them in. And then Sinkhole, which was bracketed as a nightmare map. It's basically like a portion of the Maynard map, but absolutely obliterated by some cataclysmic event. The weather tower in the middle is hyperactive, constantly spinning up these super volatile storms. Bunch of the buildings are destroyed. Lots of dangerous PvE enemies, and yeah, just kind of a nightmare, as the bracketing implied. Also worth noting, from what I can tell here, the lobbies in this game on the maps are persistent, so they're just like constantly ever going, with players dropping in, extracting, dropping in, extracting. When you drop in, you have a timer, which is referred to as a rebirth trace. If that timer reaches 0, you die, so you just want to extract before it reaches 0. The base modes that we played, that timer was set to 30 minutes. Now, in most games, I'll say we will have dropped in, gone around looting, done some fights, be it PvE and or PvP, and then end up extraction on average like within 10 to 15 minutes of dropping in. We never were really there for the full 30 minutes, so I don't think I've ever had the timer reach 0 and have me die, because usually our inventory is full and we're extracting way prior to that point. But yeah, they do like these persistent maps where players are just coming and going constantly, instead of maps that start with a set number of players right away, all at the start, and then eventually like a timer reaches 0 or something. No, they're persistent maps, which was kind of cool. Now, when it comes to the PvP, which of course is plays a big role in these extraction games, I've really enjoyed the PvP combat in this game. I'd say the time to kill seems to be in a pretty solid place, at least for my skill level. Not too fast, so it's not like you're dying instantly instantly the second you start getting shot, but also not overly tanky where the fights were taking like 5+ minutes to kill each other. There is some room, it seems, to being able to react after you've been shot and counter whoever first engaged with you, but again, you're not dying instantly. So yeah, I thought the time to kill was in a good spot. Not sure exactly what to expect of class balance and how everything will pan out. The mix, once again, is you have one tanky frame, one frame that can go invisible, and then lastly one that can basically run and or jump away pretty easily. Honestly, I had a lot of success playing the tanky frame Kodiak, but we'll have to see until it has a wider player base what people think of the balance between the three. Now, beyond shooting, I'll say maintaining energy levels is very important in PvP because the abilities for each of the classes, they will consume energy and you only have a set pool. Now, there's different equipment that you can equip which will change the amount of energy you have in storage as well as its recharge rate and conditional extra recharge that you get from different activities. But once your energy level reaches 0, you basically can only shoot, and that does put you at a bit of a disadvantage considering how strong those frames abilities are. So you got to pay attention to your energy while you're fighting players. Also quite important are your shields. This is essentially your extra health bar. Now, the normal health, which is the white bar, that just regenerates automatically over time. When you're out of combat, it'll refill up. But the shields, those do not regenerate and they need to be replenished manually. And this is a process of like inserting plates into your armor, which takes some time, and they are consumables that you carry around. So basically, the shields are this game's version of like first aid kits or bandages to heal up, but you heal the shield and not your health. That's how it works in this game. But yeah, keeping your shields up, pretty important. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, this is a full loot drop game. So beyond what is safe pocketed, a fairly small inventory space there. When you kill someone, you can take any of their weapons, the armor, the consumables, everything that they had on them. Now, as I said, I've played this game a bit over the past few months. I had participated in, I think, 3 or 4 separate of the playtests that they've held. And basically in that time, like most of my matches have been like this. I'll drop in, I'll head to the objective of whatever quest I happen to be on at the moment. You get quest chains from NPCs in the main menu. There's also like daily and weekly quests that you can participate in. And then after I do whatever the quest objective is, I'll usually head either to one of the green caches there, because I mentioned those were very, very valuable, or I'll go to one of the high threat level points of interest and or maybe to one of the artifact locations. And if at any point in that timeline I hear gunfire even remotely nearby, I head to it because it's always another player. You're never going to just like randomly hear a consistent gunfire from like a PvE groups because normally they're just chilling out in the points of interest. It's when another player shows up that the gunfire is going to happen. Either it's a gunfire from the NPCs or from the player itself. So while I'm either doing the quest or headed to one of those high value loot areas, if I hear gunfire and it sounds even remotely close, I beeline it to them and then I fight. The PvP engagement happens. If I win and survive, my inventory is usually full after killing just a few players, and then I'll head to extraction. If I die, well, then I go again. It is an extraction game after all. When you do die, you'll have to re-equip yourself, and your loadout options look like this. There are 2 separate weapon slots. Then you've got a slot for grenade, for armor, for your catalyst, which it determines your max energy as well as your energy regen rate. There's also a slot for a tactical item. There are different backpacks, which decide how much inventory space you have when you're in a match. And then finally, your secure cache, which is just their name for a safe pocket. Now, beyond the fact that there are different weapons, you know, you got different pistols, rifles, shotguns, SMGs, all of that. There's also quite a large variety of every other loadout slot as well. There are all sorts of different grenades. There are different tiers and types of armor, different catalysts, different tactical items, different backpack sizes, and even different safe pocket sizes. So as you play, you will either be finding and or getting the resources to craft and or purchasing any and all of the different types of variants of these things that you will take with you into every single match. And then also in your inventory, when you drop in, you do want to be having enough ammunition for the weapons that you're bringing in, as well as plates to repair your armor. And then usually it's good to have a revive kit or 2, which is used for self-resurrecting. And then beyond all of this thing, the game also has a system of mods for your equipped exo-rigs. As you play, you will level up the rig that you're using. The higher the level, the more mods you get. There are several different slots, and they're gonna affect all sorts of things, your sprint speed, speed, your tankiness, different types of damage, your jump height, your grapple distance and or speed and or cooldown rate, just different modifications, as they imply, the name mods, for your Exo-rig to kind of tweak it a little bit more towards whatever preferred playstyle you have. As for my thoughts, what I like and what I think could use some improvement going forward, the pros, just generally, I think this is a good feeling, playing, and running game. Like, I enjoy playing this game. The gunplay, I think, feels exceptionally good. Really impressed with the look, sound, animations, all of it. It just feels good shooting things. Also, movement is a big plus between the grapple hook, the glider, accounting for the wind conditions, and then the class movement abilities. Just all around, it feels good moving through the environment. The environmental effects also add a nice layer with the randomness to every run that is created by the fact that the weather conditions can change, and that's going to directly impact traversal and how you get around the map. I enjoy both PvE encounters, where I go into a point of interest and clear out the different types of enemies, various sorts of bandits, as well as the robot threats, and the PvP fights, as I mentioned earlier, have been quite enjoyable. And then lastly, performance. It was just fantastic for me. Like, I never really had any big frame rate issues, and it just performed very well whenever I played. As for the things that need improvement or I'd like to see changed, for one, I want solo queue right now. You can queue in solo, but you will be queuing into lobbies with groups of other players. I tend to play solo a lot in these games, and I just prefer, if possible, to have lobbies where I can be matched against other solo players. Wasn't there the last time I played. Hopefully that comes in the future. They do this thing where they've got multiple tiers of ammunition, and the higher the tier or like rarity of the ammo that you have, the more damage it's going to do to shields. I don't love that at all. I definitely prefer, it's okay that these games have like discrepancies in power levels, but I prefer when extraction games keep those tiers of power just to the gear and not to any consumables like healing or shield regeneration, and or, as this game does, having better versions of ammunition. I would love if they had a quick deploy option where you can just jump straight back in with a basic set of items and gear automatically without having to tinker and re-equip yourself every time you die. Now, there's a few ways to do this. Games like Dark and Darker let you have a quick play loadout where ahead of time you can set up, hey, I unlock these things, and every time I quick play, I want to automatically be given these basic items for just like a quick, cheap, easy redeploy option. Or do what Arc Raiders does and have like a random equipment setup where you drop in with a random weapon and a random assortment of items and armor, and then you just make the best of what you have. I tend to really enjoy when these extraction games give me a way to just instantly click play and not have to re-equip my weapons, reattach them with the attachments, reset up my inventory, making sure I've got all the right ammunition and the healing. Just give me an option to just, I die right away, jump back in with a whatever. It can always be basic. It can be just straight white basic armor and weapons and consumables and whatever, but give us an option to just get right back in and not have to fiddle around with our inventory and loadout every time we die. That's preferable. Also, there's this whole system of valuables. You'll collect valuables. You can only sell them. That's all you can do with them. You sell them for currency, and you use that currency to buy things, re-equip yourself, get more ammunition and healing and whatever. But right now, there's no auto sell valuables button, and I think the game should have one. You have to manually sell each one individually. Just give me an option where everything in my loadout, if it's valuable, automatically sell it by clicking a button. Make me confirm if I need to for whatever reason. And then lastly, I'll just say, extraction is a rather tough genre to break into. Like any competitive multiplayer game, it's going to require a player base to be successful. So I'm wishing them the best, because I definitely have enjoyed playing this game in the several tests that I've participated in thus far. I do also plan to jump in more this coming week when the new test starts. Now, as mentioned, if you guys are interested, there's a link available below. You can sign up and try it out for yourself. Once again, this next round of testing will be beginning on Tuesday, September 16th, and it is running for a full 3 weeks, lasting until October the 7th. Hope you enjoyed my overview of what Exoborn is. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you check it out. Maybe I'll see some of you guys in game over the course of the next couple weeks. I'll definitely be playing a bit more because, yeah, I've liked it. But that's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Take it easy.